this comic pick for us today?
Well, it's the second run in a like series about a character who I would not have thought like I'd be following over successive runs, but hey, here we are. So I'm here to talk about the Venom run from Al Ewing and his friends, co-writers Ram V and Torben Grönbeck, that followed on from the really fantastic run from Donny Cates and Ryan Stegman and like their artistic friends, because when I started reading like Venom on the back of the fact that I was on board the Donny Cates hype train, which is a great thing, and really in retrospect, Cates' like run only continues to stand out more in the sense that it was a story that basically started out like Eddie Brock at his lowest point, and even though it had him struggle mightily throughout the course of this run, it also served to like build him up like over the course of each successive arc, from just getting his sense of worth back, to find out that he has a son, to seeing that hey, he can take out Carnage, and and also just deal with other threats from like the time tree and all, and eventually like the god of the symbiotes itself. Well, by the end of Cates' run, Eddie Brock had been built up into like the new god of the symbiotes, and his son Dylan, a new addition, courtesy of Cates, had been this, set to be like the new host of Venom. It's like, and it was just like a really strong run that even if you're not a fan of the character, it's something that I would recommend you go ahead and check out. While I think it's really tragic what happened to Cates after his car accident, I live in hope that he's eventually going to make a full recovery, and eventually like keep giving us like comic stories like on the level of what he gave us in his Venom run, as well as his other create own works like God Country, and to a lesser extent like Crossover and Vanish. So yeah, it's like hopefully that will come back, he'll show us that he's still that he's able to come back from that tragedy. But in the meantime, the Marvel machine goes on, and hey, like after we've had this really epic Venom run that has also informed the feature film trilogy that happened. But well, it's we've got to keep giving the readers like a Venom storyline they can get involved in with. And I was just all prepared to just like, hey, okay, Cates give us this great run. It's like, well, whoever's gonna do this afterwards, well, I don't think they're gonna be as good. But then it was announced that hey, this new run was not, this next successive Venom run was not going to have just one writer but two. One of them being Ram V, who has a history of doing oddball horror creative creator own stuff with Image and other in other publishers like Boom. I did enjoy his Many Deaths of Lila Starr. I did not quite enjoy his Aquaman Andromeda series. It's or his what was it, was it Red and Blue that just trying to be more confusing than anything else. But the other writer though is what really got me to say, okay, I got to give this a shot, and that's Al Ewing. Ewing has been consistently great, whether he's doing series that only had cult appeal, like his New Avengers run, or his Loki Agent of Asgard series. But then he finally hit hit it big with his Immortal Hulk run, which was a commercial and creative success that was fantastic from beginning to end, and basically established him as one of Marvel's A-list creators. Now, he hasn't quite had a it's a series that has match that level of critical and commercial acclaim, but that's not for lack of trying. Because I really did enjoy like his work on in the X-Men franchise with Sword and X-Men Red. But but when it came down to like writing this new Venom series, well, there's like a division of like labor here because it turned out that that this new Venom series is going to focus on both Eddie Brock and his son Dylan. And if there's one issue I have with Cates' run, it's that while he established Dylan as a character, he didn't quite like show us oh, this is how Dylan should function like in a superhero universe. Like in the very end, it basically established that okay, maybe he's going to be the new host for Venom while Eddie Brock does like King in Black stuff. So, but that was just like more of a suggestion than anything else. We didn't actually get to see any like stories where that happened. What we get here with this like new Venom series is Al Ewing is writing the story of Eddie Brock, the new King in Black and God of the Symbiotes, and he's just like using like doing all sorts of like like cosmic do-gooder stuff in the Marvel universe, using all the symbiotes at his control. But this also takes him away from being a proper parent to his son, Dylan, who is just like slowly drifting into troubled teen territory with getting in fights at school and whatnot. Well, in the first volume, it's like things go bad, and we're shown that Eddie quote unquote dies like in front of Dylan, and Dylan is now like forced to bond with Venom, and also just like live out a life that's more akin to like like fugitive living, as he just tries to stay one step ahead of the Life Foundation, which is like the evil corporation that does like symbiote stuff in the Marvel universe, and they've got their eyes on Dylan for what they're like for their like evil plans. That's what Ram V is writing like for the first three volumes. Like first three volumes? First first three volumes. Because after the events of Dark Web, and here's the thing, like basically I do enjoy what's being done with the series, but the thing is Ewing is operating on a different level than what the other writers like for Dylan are doing, because while Dylan is just like doing like fugitive like street level living, trying to stay one step ahead of the people who want to like use him and Venom, the Venom symbiote, for their evil ends. Well, Eddie is living something like much different, in the sense that after he's essentially killed after the first issue, we find out that he has basically escaped to like he has basically come unstuck in time, and the first place he goes is the Garden, basically like a haven for symbiotes that is ruled over by Meritus, and also the sycophantic Tiro, the sarcastic Wild, the rage-filled Bedlam, and the simpering Finnegan. And the thing about all these characters, all these other symbiotes, they're all Eddie. It's like basically the stories we find as we go to find out is that Eddie has basically gone on this like weird time travel business that's basically like led him into like a super time travel fascist, as Meridius, the evil head of the Garden, and someone who basically feels that hey, I'm it's my destiny to rule over all symbiotes, and hey, Eddie, you can't do anything because you're eventually going to become me, because that's how like time travel works. Except it doesn't, because as we find out as over the course of the series, that like characters can characters pass in the Marvel time machine can diverge and fulfill like different storytelling requirements. Yes, it's very confusing. Yes, it's very weird. But the thing about Ewing's run, like whenever he's writing stuff, it's like he's actually got a plan, a long-term plan that he's working off of, and that's kind of what saves saves this run for me more than anything else. Because while there were parts of it where I felt that were just like going off in weird, strange directions that I didn't understand, but in the end, like Ewing did have an idea like of what he was what he was doing. It's like, and where all this is going to lead. But for whatever reason, he couldn't write all of it. Yeah, it's like after V quit at the like at the end of the Dark Web series of issues, Ewing took over for a bit and wrote Dylan's stories, which probably resulted in like the most interesting batch of them, because after that, Torrin Grombeck took over, and while she's not bad, in fact, she deserves credit for taking over Donny Cates's Thor run after his car accident precluded him from finishing it off. And I gotta say that's a thankless task right there. Just basically fulfill someone else's run, based on their notes. But she did the best job she could, and it turned out okay, I guess. But I'm working on Dylan's story here. It just kind of felt that like she was just hey, just doing whatever was necessary in order to like fulfill the overall story, like for the volumes that she was working on, including the tie-ins with Carnage in like in volumes. It's like in volume 7, Exsanguination. That was definitely like the weakest volume of the series I felt before rereading, and after rereading, well, yeah, it still kind of is, but even then, everything like did fit together a bit better. And this is it got Carnage into the story, and we got to see like let's see how Carnage affected the like the state of the garden, that that Eddie had come back to the story by this point in the series, and just like being like the big like his own like evil like psychopathic self. This is all right. And also then you got the bits with Lee Price, who is like not a character I was familiar with at all. And that's another thing. I guess like the more familiar you are with Venom's history, like the more um like this run will like appeal to you, because Ewing, for better or for worse, is all about like diving deep into characters continuity, and just finding like all these like weird oddball bits that you're kind of wondering like, what, like, who is this, like, what why are you bringing this guy back? And I think that worked really well in or Hulk, but that was a character who like I had like a fairly like a fairly broad knowledge of 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 the character's history. But Venom, I had one less so. So it's like when he starts bringing in guys like Lee Price, even if he was like a recent um like addition to Venom's history, like apparently he was like some guy who just a psychopath who just like inherited the Venom symbiote and then died, and but then he was brought back as a zombiote, which is like key to this final like part of the series. Well, it was still kind of confusing, and I actually had to look him up, as well as the captive, which is like a interplanetary predator to the symbiotes, that I had no idea who this thing was. I had to actually look him up outside of the context that was given to him, like in the storyline. So basically, what we've got by the end of these like two final volumes for the for this wrap up in this point of Ewing's run in the series, like you've got like Eddie, who's found a way to break the cage of time and attack Meritus and all the other versions of himself that have been spawned from from time travel. And Emeritus is also just found himself stuck outside of time, or at least having to live through like a couple million years of Marvel history in order to slowly get his revenge on Eddie. And in the meantime, Dylan has also managed to find his own camaraderie of fellow Venom adjacent characters. It's it's like Bren, who was who was like the host to the Toxin symbiote, Normie Osborn, like Norman Osborn's grandson, who was here to it's like heir to his own it's like that Carnage spawned symbiote, but that also has ties to um Eddie Brock's most violent form, Bedlam, and also Kang as well. It's like, and also Flexo, a it's like a robot spawn from symbiotes that has also been corrupted by Doctor Doom's mindset as well. There's a lot going on here, but by the time we get to the final two volumes, which I want to really talk about here, basically they are Venom War, which is basically the event series, you know, like take on things, and then the final volume of Venom, where that's mostly written by Torun Grönbeck. Now, just to let you know how this should go, when you get these two volumes, the way you should read them is read the first issue of Venom Volume 8, which is by Al Ewing and sets up the events of Venom War. Then go and read the first issue of Venom War, which basically sets everything up in terms of the conflict between all the various symbiote factions, and brings in Spider-Man as well, and introduces you to Old Man Dylan. Yep, that's right. Dylan is now an old man in the series, and he's come back to tell his young self that, hey, I'm going to save you, but I need you to know how things are going to go. Before I'm going to make you a weapon in order to save yourself, or for me to save you. But I'm going to go. But I just want to let you know how things are going before I go back into the time stream. And then after you read that first issue of Venom War, you can either go back and read all the remaining issues of Venom Volume 8 by Torun Grönbeck, which is a detail Old Man Dylan's adventures in the time stream to create this weapon. And then you've got the many issues of Venom War, which lay out the final conflict between Eddie, Dylan, and Meredith as well. Now, I do want to say that while the the opening issue written by Ewing in Volume 8 does do a good job of setting up the crossover, especially with the bits where it shows the Venom symbiote just escaping and just realizing that the one person that he could ask to help him in the situation is none other than Peter Parker, the one character who basically said no, I'm not going to bond with you, and so he realizes that he is the perfect person to help him out in this situation. And as for the remaining issues about Old Man Dylan, they're the best things that I've read from Grönbeck in the series, if not everything else I've ever read from her. It's like that she's done from Marvel Comics, mainly because it's it does basically establishes Old Man Dylan is just this man out of time who's coming from a dystopian future where he did bond with Venom, and then things went bad in the end, and now he's going to try and find a way to undo things by jumping through the time stream in ways that allow him to meet up with Spider-Man, meet up with his old man, meet up with Doctor Strange, meet up with Marvel brand Cthulhu Chthon, and also Loki, because why the hell not? And this, and I like these I like these issues because they did do a good job of establishing Old Man Dylan as a tragic figure, someone who was willing to who had seen the worst future, and was also willing to give up everything in order to avoid that coming to pass, even if it means just making some bad deals with some of the worst characters in the Marvel universe. And even though his story doesn't come full circle until the events of Venom War, proper, I thought that Grönbeck did a good job of making Old Man Dylan into a character that sympathize with, and it also offers something different like even in the sense of older version of a character comes back from the timeline to change things. It was still pretty well executed for what it was, and it had some really solid art from from regular Venom artists at this point, Kafu, and and also German Peralta as well. So yeah, it's like don't ignore the final volume of Venom. Like if you're like me and you're just kind of meh on Grunbeck's contributions beforehand, this final volume does do a good job of of sh- of showing you what she's capable of, and it's a really contributes really strongly to the story as well, which is really meant to play out in Venom more, because and on one hand, I get the feeling that Ewing is just kind of acknowledges like this is like that like a war between symbiotes is just kind of ridiculous in itself, because like just like a superhero sugar high, because it basically like takes place in the a limited class wrestling. It's like of the Marvel universe. It's just superpowered characters like wrestle each other. It's like because they can, because of the spectacle demands it. And even though there's some nods to just how wrestling has its own version of reality, kayfabe. Well, then you've got like Eddie Brock and his symbiote buddies jumping into the it's like to the battle, to like the wrestling match that's happening at the start of the series, and they're just saying that hey, it's like I'm here, it's like I'm here to fight, and also I need to get back with my my Venom. This gets the attention of both Spider-Man and the symbiote that wants to bond with him, but also like Dylan and all of his symbiote adjacent buddies as well. And this Venom War is unique amongst other event series that I've read, in the sense that it's such a much more intimate, focused conflict than others. Like, 'cause it basically takes place all in the sense that all in this one big wrestling arena, and everyone just has their own issues out, like amongst them. Dylan has been really angry with his dad about abandoning him, and Spider-Man is also I was just like, hey, like I'm not sure if either of you should have their hands on this symbiote, like given what it's told me, but like I'm willing to act as as an impartial observer here. Oh, and then also there's Meredith, who is reemerged in the present day, with the Life Foundation, basically saying that, hey, it's like I've got this new symbiote goo that can that can that acts as an effective thing, and can just like animate people with symbiote properties, and take them over. It's like just by biting them all. So like they're basically not symbiotes, they're zombiotes. So yeah, you've got the series, this this the storyline where you've got all these characters hashing out their personal issues in a wrestling arena, while also all these zombie characters fight themselves, and take over New York, because hey, you got to have a larger scale to these things. Oh, and also there's also a one-page backup where Venom Horse does this thing as well, because yeah, hey, you're a Venom Horse, right? Venom Horse was the big thing from the trailers of the third Venom movie, The Last Dance. So I get the feeling that someone told Ewing that, hey, Al, you got to include Venom Horse in this crossover, because he's the next big thing, according to these trailers. And Ewing, I love him for this. He just uses like Venom Horse in these one-page stories just as a treatise, to explain the different levels of art, as as espoused in works Understanding Comics, while also having characters just saying Venom Horse, don't hurt him. So yeah, it's ridiculous, and I think that even though we only get 5 pages of Venom Horse, they were the 5 pages we needed. But in the end, does Venom War satisfy? Well, I think that yeah, it does, even though it's like it really kind of establishes that we're only like part of the way through Ewing's run. Like it kind of feels that like that there's this is like kind of like a this is like the recalculation and refocusing of the story of like everyone who's involved with the symbiotes. And on one hand, I think that there is enough here that does satisfy in terms of like like being like a wrap up like to this current storyline of Eddie and Dylan Brock, or okay, well Eddie Brock more than anything else. But really like this like the finale just, even though it does kind of draw a line under like the like Eddie Brock on second time and all the different versions of himself, as well as Dylan's own like symbiote problems. It's like it does kind of feel like like a soft reset more than anything else. Like they're trying, like they're saying, hey, yeah, like we're done with this, and now we're going on to other business. And okay, and if nothing else, I do kind of feel that I do want to see what happens next, because in terms of like what's happening with Eddie Brock, well, I can't really like avoid spoilers, because there's currently a series called Eddie Brock Carnage, being published right now by Charles Soule and Jesus Size. And do I want to read that? Well, yeah, because like seeing how things turned out here, I do want to see how Eddie manages being like the new host of the Carnage symbiote, and especially when he's written by like Charles Soule, like a guy who like does do a good job of like, considering all the angles in any project that he's given. Yeah, it's like I'm probably not going to get something that's going to be like like out like it's like really genuinely surprising or shocking, but like Soule's like strength and weakness as a writer is that his ceiling and floor are really close together. And so yeah, I'm willing to, I'm gonna go out and like see what he can do with with Eddie Brock as the new host of Carnage. As for the new host of Venom in the series All New Venom, well, Marvel revealed themselves to be cowards after they felt that hey, maybe this like the reveal issue of who the new host of Venom was wasn't being ordered enough, so they spoiled it. And I thought, oh man, why you gotta do that, Marvel? Why you gotta not have faith in Al Ewing and Carlos Gomez doing their thing? But well, whatever, man. Because like I trust Al Ewing, and I'm going to go ahead and do that. But if by some chance you haven't heard like who the new host of Venom is, well, it's like I think that Ewing's work here, because like it was the most consistent part of Venom, and I guess now is probably a good time to say that yeah, I do think this Venom run is good, even if I mean it doesn't. I don't think it like quite like like um like builds like a lot specifically on what like Cates did in his Venom run, but at the same time though it does something different, and it was doing so from a plan that eventually like played out like in the course of Venom War. So yeah, I did enjoy it, and I am going to follow Ewing like through his new series on all new Venom, because as it turns out face it, readers, we hit the jackpot, such as it is. So yeah, it's like I'm gonna keep following it, but yeah, if you're gonna read one Venom run like of the based on the two that I've read, then yeah, absolutely read like Donny Case's run. But it's like if you're a fan of Ewing and you liked what he's done in our universe like up to this point, then yeah, go ahead and read this one too, because for all its flaws, it does read really well once you like read everything from front to back. And yeah, like expect a another like Venom podcast after I've like read everything that Eddie Brock as Carnage and all new Venom has to offer. So there you go, everyone.
Cool. So do you know what you're going to be talking about next time?
Next time may take a little bit longer to deliver than usual, but I am going to like rectify last year's like issue with like like the buried treasures of manga by talking about Billy Bat from Naoki Urasawa, the one series of the master that has yet to make a proper um debut over here. But yeah, it's like it may arrive in 2 weeks, it may arrive in a little bit longer, but I assure you it will be worth waiting for.
All right, and we'll catch you next time on Common Picks about the Glade.
Later's everyone.